Okay. Hey, everybody. So, welcome to part 2 of our manifestation and abundance workshop. So, some of you might be here on Instagram, and some of you are here on Zoom and maybe even Facebook. So I'm just going to wait for a few moments just as people kind of come in. So great to see some of the same faces again. And if you're tuning in for the first time, this is the second part in a 3-part series. So I gave part 1 yesterday. And I'll be doing part 3 tomorrow. So, if you haven't watched the first part, you can definitely tune into this one and then go back and watch the first part and then tune in for tomorrow. If you're watching these on the recordings and you want some of the other recordings because you missed them, just let me know and I'll send them to you. Yeah. I think that's it. And if you can't make tomorrow and you want to, or if you want to make tomorrow and you don't have the Zoom link, you want to be able to be on Zoom to ask questions, then just send me a message again and I'll send you the link. So just a little recap on what we spoke about yesterday. Check. Can you guys on Zoom hear me okay? Yeah, cool. So yesterday, I kind of gave like a bit of an overview of some of the principles of manifestation and abundance. And I mean, there's a lot of different things that are at play. There's a lot of different principles. We have like the 12 laws of the universe. We can work with like the cycles of the moon. We can work with the cycles of nature. As women, we can work with our own menstrual cycle. There's a lot of belief system work that comes into it. So there's so many things that are happening when we're looking at abundance. I touched on The Secret yesterday, the movie and the book, and how that really just focuses on the law of attraction, which is one of the laws of the universe, which is very, very important when it comes to manifestation and abundance, but it's not the only thing that we do. So if you have subscribed to the teachings of The Secret and you've really thought about what you want, and then you've kind of gone and sat yourself down on the couch and just hoped that it'll come to you and it's not, then, these other teachings will kind of explain why some of those other things have not, some of those like manifestations haven't happened to you. So kind of spoke a bit about that, spoke a bit about this sort of mindset loop, this kind of belief system loop that happens, that is really one of the biggest things, really. It's like we have a subconscious belief that's imprinted from our primary caregivers, from society, from our culture, and it could be even epigenetic. So there could be something that's come down through like literally your lineage, that one of the things that the subconscious, right, is it's subconscious, and until we shine the light of awareness on something that is subconscious, it literally runs our life. And so our subconscious, we have lots of beliefs. We will always have different beliefs, okay? And our subconscious mind is what tells our thoughts what to think, okay? And then our thoughts create our actions create our results, and then what we observe are our results, and then through our vision, through our senses, that feeds what the results that we observe feeds back into our subconscious to affirm or not affirm, to shift what we believe in. Okay, so you can see how if we just, if we get imprinted with some belief systems as young children, which we all do, okay, like we all do, and we never look at what we believe, we will essentially be living a life that is a combination of the belief systems of our society, our culture, our primary caregivers, and our and potentially epigenetics, like generations gone by. So it's kind of frightening, right? It's kind of like, holy shit balls, it's like, however old you are, if you've not ever looked at belief systems, it's like, oh my gosh, wow. It's scary, it could be frightening and at the same time really empowering, because it's like, oh my gosh, like I have the ability to change my belief system, and through changing my belief system I change my entire life. And then you, yeah, Emma, go you. You're like, yeah, change my life. And then through that, then we tie belief system stuff into the laws of the universe, into cycles like the moon cycles, menstrual cycles, into nature's cycles, into seasons. And we have a powerhouse of bringing in whatever it is that we want. Okay, so whatever you want is totally possible, is really the message. Okay, so that's kind of what we talked about yesterday. We talked about, one of the first steps is getting really super duper clear. And this might sound staringly fucking obvious, and yet so many people aren't clear. Clear on what you truly want. Okay, noticing if you resist stating or desiring what you want because you don't feel that you're worthy of it, you don't feel you're enough, you're worried about what other people will think. If you even just state what you want, but also notice if what you're desiring is you're just saying it for the sake of it because somebody else said it. Like, what is it you truly, 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 truly want? And it's okay to want what you want. Okay. And then we then we realize like what that thing, that relationship, that amount of money, that job, that object, that house, that lifestyle will fundamentally bring us in terms of emotions. Okay, we want to tune in, like, what is the emotion that this thing that we want will deliver to us? Because ultimately we're not after an amount of money, we're not after a house, we're not after a relationship, we're after the feeling, we're after an emotional experience. Okay, and you are in control of your own emotions, believe it or not. Okay, we are all completely in charge of our own emotions, right? So this is another thing of really stepping into your power and stepping into your ownership. And little things like one of the teachers that I've followed for a little while in the manifestation world talked about is like, your words are your wand. Okay, so what we speak is so important. So for example, just in terms of being in control of your emotions, if you regularly hear yourself saying things like, she made me feel, he made me feel, that made me feel, what you are doing in just the sleight of words is giving all the power and ownership of your emotions to somebody else. He made me feel, she made me feel, that made me feel. Nobody can make you feel. And as soon as we suggest that somebody else can make us feel, what that makes us feel something, then what that is suggesting that we do not have control over our own emotions, and therefore are victims to everybody else and circumstances and anything external. So it's just making little slight changes in like your words. Okay, it's like, she did that, as a result of that I felt, right? He said this to me and I felt, or this triggered this feeling in me. Okay, so it's some real it's subtleties and almost semantics, but it's so much more than semantics. Okay, so that was a bit about yesterday. Okay, getting clear on what you want, crystal fucking clear. And I also talked about how what you want, like today, will be different to what you want in a month's time, in 6 months' time, in a year's time, in 5 years' time. So that's why it's really important that we continue to check in with ourselves around what we want, and be okay to let go of the things that we don't want anymore. Okay, be okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your mind. Right? We're in this society where it's like, we've taken a little bit too far, too literally, this whole thing, like, say what you do and do what you say, and say what you mean and mean what you say, and never show you change. Okay, we're allowed to change, right? We are constantly evolving beings, so therefore our desires, what brings us joy, what we like, our preferences change. Okay, so be okay with that. Cool. So for those of you that were on the call yesterday, I set you some homework. You might have done it, you might not. Doesn't bother me if you do or don't. And that was to get really clear on what you want, right? Write a list. Notice, did you do it, Emma? Awesome, well done. Okay, so it was getting really clear, getting clear on the emotions, and realizing that you can choose to be in that emotion at any point. So if, let's just say, you want your own home, you want to buy a home, you want to build a home, and it's like, right, how will I feel when that comes to fruition, when that manifests? Okay, like, and we all have our own feelings. Maybe it's secure, maybe it's grounded, maybe it's safe, maybe it's happy, maybe it's elated, maybe it's a sense of fulfillment, of accomplishment. And if you struggle with like finding the emotions, Google it, literally. Google a list of emotions. Some of us are unfortunately so stinted in our emotions that we only have about 5 that we can relate to, that we can really consciously think. So if you're like, oh, I can't think what else I would feel other than happy and excited, so like go onto Google a list of emotions and go down the emotions and notice what else you can feel. All right, because sometimes we're not able to pull in what we want because we're not able to access the feeling that we want to feel. Okay. So that was yesterday. Today, we're going to go into the shadow work. Okay, so one of the other things, okay, so kind of segueing into the shadow work that I spoke about in terms of, the secret, the law of attraction, which is beautiful. It's like, bring yourself up to the vibration of the thing that you want. Okay, when we're like constantly miserable, when we're constantly just like, kicking our heels in the dirt because we haven't got what we want, we're lowering our vibration and we're not allowing that to come in. Okay, which is a beautiful principle. It is effective. It is a part of like this whole picture. But what often happens, as I say, is people will, do some of this work. They'll do their vision boards, man. They'll vision board every 3 months, and their house is full of fucking vision boards and shit isn't coming true, right? And maybe you're sitting there and you've got all your mantras stuck all over your house, on your fridge, on your mirror, and stuff's still not coming true, stuff's still not happening, which essentially means there's a value conflict. What you desire and what you believe are different. It's like square peg, round hole. Okay, square peg, round hole. So then nothing fucking happens, or it's messy, or there's confusion, and you're like, oh my God, what do I want? Why isn't this coming true? I think I want it. Maybe I don't want it. Maybe I don't want it bad enough. Maybe that's not what my destiny is, And then we'll find every excuse under the sun as to why it's not happening. But it really often, most of the time, boils down to a value conflict, especially if you have not done the shadow work, if you've not gone into the subconscious beliefs, the beliefs of your ancestors, the beliefs of your caregivers, the societal beliefs, stuff like that. Okay, so one of the big things here is really getting clear, like, who gave me my beliefs? Okay, and it's without judgment. It's not like, oh, fuck you, parents, you gave me that belief. It's like they gave, their parents gave them their beliefs, they gave them their beliefs, and so it continues, right? And we do the best we can with what we've got. We are in the age of technology now, where so much more is available to us, so much more information, so much more wisdom, so much more teachings. So we are now able, with much more accessibility, to understand this than our parents were. So it's not about judgment. It's not about, I can't believe you had that belief system that you passed on to me. It's like, wow, okay. To me, it's more just curious. It's like, wow, I wonder how many generations this has been going on for. Like, holy mother of God. And I celebrate it. I'm like, and I have the opportunity to cut that. All right, I have the opportunity to cut that generational pattern right here, right now, and not pass it on to my kids, and not be like my parents, and literally change the next generations of like my family lineage. So really looking at like, what are the beliefs of your parents? You can literally just sit and think now or after this call, and like, how did your parents show up, or your primary caregivers, whoever you were close to? Maybe it was your grandparents, maybe it was like aunts and uncles, maybe it was other kind of caregivers. What was their relationship around money, around finances, around self-worth, around work, around business, around abundance, around like possessions? Like, what were the things that you were actually told? Like, what were the stories? What did you hear with your ears? What did you see with your eyes? Because you might have heard one thing and seen something else, right? We all have this in some way, right? It's just like, you might say you want something, like, oh, I really love money. Somebody said to me the other day, oh, I really love money, but what I saw was not that. Okay, and again, this is the difference between like what we consciously think and what subconsciously is going on below the surface. So you might have heard a message, but you might have seen something really different. Like, you might have seen something that really contradicted that that you heard, or it might have been the same, but it's just really interesting, because we are aware with so many different senses, right? So, what was money a struggle growing up? Like, was there a constant like dialogue around not having enough, around like having to save? Like, no, as a kid, like, no, you can't have that. No, we can't afford that toy. No, we can't afford that trip. Yes, your friends can do that because they're rich. They come from a rich family, right? Like, what were the general themes? Like, did you hear your parents, if you were brought up by parents, like, did you hear them argue all the time around money? Was there a lot of scarcity? Okay, just really think like, what was I around growing up? And some of it might kind of seem so inconsequential when you think about it from an adult's mind, but when we're there and we're around it as a child, it can be super big. Okay, so who gave you your beliefs? Like, what are they? And this is quite big work, an exercise even in and of itself, right? Like, I've been doing this for actually like a really long time, and there's still stuff coming out. I'll suddenly have like a memory of a conversation I had with my mom when I was like, I don't know, like 8 years old, around money or around finances or around like what we can and can't have, what we can and can't do because of, money, wealth, finances. And I'll suddenly just have these little epiphanies. I'm like, oh my God, I remember that conversation. I remember hearing this thing between my mum and my dad. Okay, and you just want to start writing these down, okay? Because this is essentially what these are the little guideposts and the signposts to like everything that's going on for you right now. And and if you are tuning in and you're watching this for a reason, right? You're watching this because there's something that's holding you back, okay? And that does fundamentally like point to like what you saw, what you heard, what you experienced growing up. So who gave you your beliefs, and why are you required to keep them? Why do you have to keep hold of them if they're holding you back? Okay, which is just an interesting question in general. And really remember, as we kind of go into this, that this is one of the things that the explanations that I like about the shadow side. Okay, like as I sort of mentioned, like shadow work is becoming quite popular. I guess it's becoming a little bit in vogue. A lot of the reason why I think it's coming more in vogue now is because of what's going on in the world. 2020 is all about clear vision, right? 2020 vision, clear sight, the veils have been lifted, and suddenly we're all going, whoa, holy fuck. I think I need to do some inner work, because it's not only giving us the opportunity to really see what's going on in the world, but that obviously mirrors what's going on inside of ourselves. Okay, so the shadow work, a lot of people resist shadow work because by nature it's dark, by nature it can kind of be murky. Okay, but our shadow side guides us towards our true self. Okay, it really does. And one of the ways that a teacher of mine explained it, which really landed for me, is it's actually the part of ourselves that we've pushed down, squashed down, or been ashamed of. Okay, so it's actually not something that we want. We're not trying to get rid of our shadow. We're not trying to push it away. We're not trying to condemn it. It's not like, I'm going to fight you with the light until you evaporate. It's not that. It's actually befriending our shadows. Because think about like when you're a kid, like, a classic example would be, you really love to sing and dance, and you were really, I don't know, just say like you were kind of a bit of a performer, and your caregivers, whoever, was around you, like would kind of condemn you, like, oh, you've got a terrible voice, or like you're such a silly dancer. And so, what do? You retract, because that's what we do, right? When people shame us or, tell us that we're not good at something. And over time, that part of ourselves becomes our shadow, right? So it can be things that are actually just like expressions of ourselves, okay? So by doing shadow work, it can actually lead us to our true nature. And it can be our true nature that sits within those shadows. Okay, so it's a really important side of ourselves that we want to get into, and we want to allow it to be able to express. Another interesting thing is like we only have a shadow because we're human. Okay, so it's your human experience that means you have a shadow. Okay, so think about like being a physical body. When the light shines on a physical body, it creates a shadow. Like our souls don't have shadows. Our souls are just light. Okay, but it's through human experience that we have that shadow side. And it's the law of polarity, which I touched on yesterday. One of the laws of the universe suggests that there is, for every single thing in existence, there is an equal and opposite. Okay, so we have to have a light side for this human existence. We have to have a shadow side for this human existence. Like, neither are good or bad, neither are better or worse. Okay. So some of the beliefs, I just want to go through like some of the classic belief systems around money that you might have. And there's probably, there's pretty much infinite different belief systems we might have around money. But just to kind of list some of the primary ones that might show up in your life, that might be dictating how you live your life, and essentially will be making or breaking your work, your career, your dharma, your path. Okay, because let's put it like this: like, if you have a belief system that fundamentally tells you that earning money is not good, okay, well, like I say, I'll go through a bunch of belief systems. Again, there's going to be this value conflict, because there's a part of you that's like, I really want money. Like, I want to be successful. I want to have nice things. I want to have good experiences. I want, I want to feel safe. I want to be comfortable. But you fundamentally believe that having money is bad, that you're going to be a bad person, that people are going to hate you, that people are going to disown you. So you are constantly going to self-sabotage in your work. You are not going to shine as brightly as you are truly able to, because you have fear around being whatever it is you believe you'll become when you are wealthy, when you are successful, when you're rich, when you have money. Okay, so you constantly self-sabotage, and that self-sabotage will show up in terms of like procrastination, not being in the right places where you know that you'll meet the right people, like not having the right conversations. Your energy will be vibrating lower, so you won't be calling in the people, the places, the circumstances, the situations, in order to then like elevate yourself to be able to have more success, have more wealth, have more abundance. Okay, so some of the beliefs that I classically hear, okay, this is kind of directed at like light workers, change makers, but it's just anybody that wants to do good in the world. Okay, because typically, there is an association with doing good and not making money. Okay, so whatever your career path is, your dharmic path is, your purpose is, so let's say, coaches cannot be rich or shouldn't charge for their services. Okay. Maybe you have a belief system that's, I don't need much to get by. I'm okay without that much money. Right? Rich people are greedy. Rich people are selfish. Rich people are self-obsessed. Rich people are nasty. There's not enough to go around. Okay, there's total scarcity. There's not enough to go around. Maybe, this is a classic, right? Kind of like, hands up who's never heard this one. Money is the root of all evil. Right? We all, I think, grew up with hearing that somewhere, right? There's a little bit, it's an interpretation of a biblical expression. It's not actually, I believe, it's not what is actually written in the Bible, but it's how it's been interpreted. It's selfish and evil to want money. You have to work hard in order to earn money. That's a super classic one. And I have to work even harder to keep the money that I've got. Money creation, wealth is out of my control. Money is corrupt and corrupts those who have it. And then there's the whole line of like, what will people think of me if I'm rich? Like, how will I be perceived? And this can be quite a big one, particularly. So something that a lot of coaches are talking about at the moment is this whole thing of, we like historically like lived in like actual tribes, right? And in order to not be rejected by our tribe, we needed to fit in, right? We had to conform. Okay, and through non-conformity, it could mean that we would be kicked out of our tribe, and death would essentially be imminent. So this desire for conformity, for people to like us, for people to be, okay with what we say, what we think, often drives, on a very, very, very deep level, drives how we show up. Because if we have this fundamental belief that our family, our culture, our society, our friends will reject us because we're rich, then, well, fuck, we're not going to get rich. We're not going to show up in the way that we need to show up. We're not going to have the impact that we want to have through fear of being rejected. And obviously that primarily is, not true. And there can be a little bit of truth to it, in that, like, if you have grown up, let's just say, classic example, like your family are really stuck in scarcity, your parents are really stuck in scarcity around money. They've got really strong stories around who rich people are, what rich people are. Rich people are selfish, they're greedy, they're corrupt, they only do bad things. Money changes people. Rich people don't have friends. Rich people can't trust anything. I not so much grew up in my younger years with that, but I used to work on boats, sailing and racing for 10 years, around exceptionally wealthy people, multi-million billionaires. And I know Emma, who's on the Zoom, has a similar experience. And what I saw and what I heard other people talk about was, these rich people, they don't have friends. They don't have many friends. They can't trust anybody because people are just after them for their money. Okay. And so, of course, like, again, talking about that loop is like whatever we believe, we then we look out for, we literally hunt it out. We hunt out circumstances and situations that affirm. Okay. So although, like, working in that environment, I couldn't do anything, right? Because it's not about me. I couldn't do anything that would create a reality of somebody else being lonely, but I will look for proof, validation, and verification of that belief. So I will only see that. Okay. So let's say that's your parents, they've got these really strong beliefs. Okay. Let's say, your siblings do as well, and you grew up in a community where we often bond on negative beliefs, right? Have you ever noticed that there's that, people bond to have a good old fucking moan, don't they? Like, notice if that is you. Like, notice if, like, some of your friendships, some of your connections, some of your relationships are based on having a fucking moan and having a bitch. Okay, because this is all beliefs, right? This is all like negative belief stuff that you are connecting on, right? We connect on shared beliefs, which is why when you start to elevate yourself, when you start to change your vibration, when you start to work through belief systems, who you hang out with changes, because you'll notice you will be so much less tolerant of the people that bitch and moan. Okay, and people will say that you've changed, and yes, you fucking have, and so you fucking should, quite frankly. And does it mean that you never have to talk to your family again? No, of course not. Like, they're your family. Maybe, okay, I don't know, obviously your own stories, but you need to put boundaries down, right? If you really, if you know that your environment is not supportive for this, like the people, like your crew at the moment, if you know that, like, you connect on, like, negativity, on scarcity, on bitching, on moaning, on not enoughness, oh my God, it's really tough at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, it's really fucking tough. There's no fucking work, is there? My God, I mean, I've hardly got any money. Like, oh, well, what can we do today that's cheap? What can we do today that's free? Like, if that's how you're bonding, like, you need to separate from that. You need to put boundaries down. Okay, you need to not have those conversations because they're just reaffirming this reality that you're stuck in. Okay, so it can be kind of a bit scary, right? Because it's like, hang on a minute, like, this is everyone who I'm around, or the majority of people that I'm around actually have this belief or some form of this belief. And all it's doing is supporting, cementing, and reaffirming what already, like, is going on in my subconscious mind. Okay. So that would be another little exercise to do, is just reflect, like, who are you around at the moment? Like, who supports And this is, again, this is not judgmental, okay? We're not calling people out. I'm calling you out because you're on this call, right? But you're not calling people out unless they ask to be called out. You're just noticing. It's just like, fuck, I bond with that person over scarcity. I bond with those people or that group of people around lack, around like just not enoughness, around like judgment of people. Okay. And that's really just a reflection. It's just a reflection of like, okay, I need to create better boundaries. And how can I start calling people in and having conversations with people who have a better mindset, right? Like that classic thing, I think it's Warren Buffett. I mean, he says lots of cool shit. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Okay. So think about, who are you spending time with? Like, who are you spending time with who has a mindset that you want to have, or has a life that you want to have, and who has, you know, the things that you want in a way that is integral, obviously, because there are ways that we can get things that are not integral, like stealing. But start to look for those people. And even if it's online, you know, most of my teachers, I think pretty much all my teachers at the moment are online. Okay. So like, look for people who you can spend time with. And, you know, I say this about quite a few of my teachers, like I stick to them like fucking glue, right? I stick to them like glue. When I say hang off their every word, I mean, you know, I don't believe in guru status, but I really listen to their teachings, and I will listen to stuff every single day. Mindset work is an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing for the rest of your life thing. Okay. It's not a casual, this is not a casual relationship. This is like an entire life commitment. If you actually want to change, like if you actually want to up level, if you actually want to live the life that you want to live, this is like a full on biggest commitment relationship you'll probably ever have. Okay. But it's up to you. Like, it depends whether you want to change your life or not. If you don't, that's cool. You can just have casual relationships with mindset work. It'll go round and round and round and round and round and round and round. And it'll be really fucking frustrating. I say, you do you. So, you know, one of the other things that I notice can get people stuck is this idea of like, oh, but I don't want $1 million. Like, I don't want flash cars. I don't want diamond rings. I don't want Louis Vuitton bags. Like, cool. Nor do I. I mean, $1 million would be nice, but I don't want flash stuff. Wealth doesn't have to equal flash, grotesque, excessive. Okay, it really doesn't. Like, wealth can mean being of huge fucking service, because let's face it, wealth is power. Whether that triggers the fuck out of you as a statement or not, it's pretty true. Wealth is power. Money speaks. Okay, so if you want to have an impact, really have an impact, you need money. Okay, because maybe that's creating an organization where you give back, right? Maybe that's going in and hiring a team so that you can have an even bigger impact. Okay, but wealth does equal power. So you've got to get really clear on what you want. Like, what do you want to do with your money, right? And again, it doesn't have to be diamond rings, it doesn't have to be houses, but it's like, maybe it's just like, yeah, do you know what? I really want to get involved in this sex trafficking thing with kids that's going on and make a freaking change. Like, sweet. Do you know what? That's going to take money, you know, but we can make that money. So the more money you have, the bigger impact you can have, right? Like I say, maybe it's employing more people, maybe it's educating yourself, right? Like, how cool just to be able to go, that person invited me, that teacher invited me, that coach invited me, boom, I don't have to think about money anymore. I'm just going to put the money down, right? How freaking liberating would that be? Than to be like, oh, I guess maybe in 2 years when I save £50 a year, like a month, I'll be able to do that, you know, like, how would it be just to be able to be like, yeah, that's it. Money is not an issue anymore. Okay. So let's see, where are we? Okay. Let's just have a look at the time as well. Ooh, these go fast. Okay, before we go into actual proper homework, I've kind of given you quite a few little tips already, but here's the thing. This is one of the things that really landed for me. So staying stuck. I'm assuming that in some way, shape or form, if you're watching this, you have a feeling of stuckness around money, around wealth, around purpose, around abundance. So staying stuck is actually serving you in some way. It might be like, no, it's not. You know, your conscious mind is like, there's no way this is serving me. Like, there's no way this lack of money, this lack of whatever is serving me. Yes, it is. Okay, that's why you're staying stuck. We don't stay in a place if it's not serving us. Okay, it's keeping you safe. Okay, so like I say, even if consciously you can reason that there are better options than where you are right now, and you're like, you know, your conscious mind is like, shut up, like I definitely don't want to be here, like I definitely don't want to be here, this isn't serving me, I hate where I am, like this sucks. It's just like, yes, and you're choosing to stay there. So for whatever reason, it feels safe. And until you look at the belief systems that are driving why you're staying where you are, you'll continue to stay stuck. Okay, so our subconscious mind doesn't like change. Okay, it's like that is the ego, right? It really doesn't like change. It finds safety in sameness, in continuity, and in familiarity. Again, like big change, historically, could equal death. Okay, we want things to stay the same. Okay, so if you're suddenly throwing up out of there that you're going to start shining brighter, you're going to start putting yourself out there, you'll start going to go doing videos on social media or doing whatever it is that you know you should be doing, but you're not. Okay, your subconscious mind is helping you to stay stuck because it believes that by taking that step, by putting yourself out there more, could ultimately result in death. Well, yeah, death of the old version of you, but that's about it. Okay, but it is serving you, otherwise you wouldn't be staying there. So whatever kind of phrase it is that you have to where you are, like maybe you're literally broke. Okay, maybe you're not broke, maybe you're just like really fucking frustrated. Like maybe you feel like, oh, you know, I haven't really found my purpose, or I know what my purpose is, but I can't really get there. Like, you know, we all have like a bit of a phrase around where we are. Like, what are the benefits of you staying, let's say, broke in this instance? Like, what are the benefits of you staying broke? And again, your conscious mind is probably going, well, there's no fucking benefits. Like, that's why I'm on this call. Like, tell me something different, right? There will be benefits to staying broke. Okay, here's some of them. Okay, you get to stay in your story of victimization, and your story is really comfortable to you. Whatever it is that you keep affirming to yourself is your comfort zone. Okay, and this might sound wild, but you know, an extreme example of this, okay, is like if you grew up in an abusive household, be that verbally abusive, physically abusive, emotional abuse, like you literally grew up in that. Like that's what you saw, that's what you were around. And again, unless you do the shadow work, unless you dive into like this whole belief system, like what happened, you will be subconsciously attracting that in for the rest of your life. Like because your subconscious mind finds comfort in that because that's what it knows. That's its normality. That's its benchmark. Okay, so if you grew up in an abusive environment and through your adult life, you draw in abusive situations, abusive relationships, it's comfortable. And anything that is not abusive will appear to be very dull, boring, monotonous, flat, uncolorful. Okay, because abuse is our benchmark. All right, in this is a really extreme example. Okay, so if you are used to playing the victim, right? If you're used to kind of like being broke, being poor, having a good old bitch and moan, you know, about the economy, about like, oh, there's not enough to go around, your subconscious mind finds safety in that story because it reaffirms, again, like it reaffirms what it believes. Okay, so we talk about that loop again, like what we believe was what we think is what we do is what we see is what affirms back into our belief system. Okay, so there is safety in your story. It's comfortable. Okay, it also means that maybe you get to hang out with the same friends, right? You get to keep your same friends, you get to keep the same relationships, everything stays the same, right? Again, sameness. Okay, and you know, maybe there is fear of how your relationships will change, fear of what people will think, fear of being kicked out of your tribe. Think about like if the broke story is your story, or iterations of, maybe you're not broke, but maybe there's like always this like fear around money. How are you, like, how to say this, like what goes on in your life that keeps you in that story? So an example of this might be perhaps as a result of being broke, you receive financial support from your family, right? Maybe mom or dad or aunt or uncle or granny like drip a little bit of money into your account every month. Maybe they pay for your education. Maybe they just, maybe they pay your rent. And again, no judgment. I'm not saying this with any judgment whatsoever. And this might sound kind of weird. It'll be like, well, yeah, of course I'd love for them not to be doing that and me to be earning my own money and standing on my own 2 feet. But there's a comfort in that, right? Because it's familiar and it's predictable and it's expected. So if that's one of the things that's going on, you will not be wanting to change through fear of letting that go. And it kind of sounds utterly bizarre because obviously, like, if you're suddenly making 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month, 50 grand a month, well, of course you're not going to need their freaking help, are you? But there is a comfort in that time. Maybe you don't want to change because you receive benefits, right? Maybe you're, I don't know what it's called in other countries. In England, it's the dole. Like maybe you're on the dole, like on support. Maybe there's some kind of things that you're receiving because you don't have that much money. Maybe you are maybe you don't have to pay loans off at the moment, right? Because you're not making enough money so that you get to like not make loan payments, right? So it's like there's something that you will have created a scenario around your circumstance. That means when that circumstance changes, your circumstance changes, those things will have to change. And believe it or not, like that can be what's holding us back. Maybe you're worried about paying more taxes, right? One of my teachers was talking about this exact thing. Like she realized that one of the blocks that was holding her back was that she realized that when she went to like the income level she wanted to be earning, she'd have to be paying taxes like everybody else, right? And then she realized, well, hang on a minute, if I'm making that money, I'm making that money, and then I'm actually doing like 10 times better than staying stuck where I am. So looking at like what are the structures that literally hold the belief system that you have in place? What supports you staying in that place? Are your family supporting you in some way? Do you receive some kind of benefits? Are you exempt from paying things because you're in this place, right? Like really, like be really, really honest. And again, it's not judgment. It's just really honesty. Like, where are you at? So here's some homework. I mean, I think I've already given you quite a lot of little tips and things to work through. Okay, but here's just a little bit of homework. So when you list all the beliefs, I mean, to be honest, it's a little bit endless. You have around wealth, abundance, opportunity, work, career, purpose, worth, gender and money, right? Women earn less than men, right? All these things. There's so many, right? Maybe there's stuff to do with like where you're situated in the world, where you're situated in the country. Oh, I'm from the north. We don't make as much money as those in the south, whatever. And you just do this. I mean, you can do this with as many of the beliefs that you want, but just start with like one or two. Like start with the big resounding ones, the ones that are like, yeah, like that's me. It's like, maybe it's just like, I'm not worthy to make that much money. I'm not capable. Where do you feel it in your body? So this is really a reflective, contemplative exercise. Is where do you feel that belief in your body? You will feel something. You will feel like a restriction somewhere, or some tension somewhere, or some kind of negative dissonance in your body. And then ask, what does this sensation have to tell me? Again, there's no right or wrong. There's not a magic answer. You're not looking for something in particular. It's just like, what comes up when I lean into the message of the sensation? And then how has believing in this benefited me in the past? Because it will have done. Like you've signed up to that belief system. For some reason, it's kept you safe. You thought you were in danger. You subscribed to this belief system because you thought you were in danger. It kept you safe. What happened? And again, this is all without judgment. And what's the truth around this belief system? Like what, like capital T truth? And then what would I tell someone else who had this belief? Right, so imagine, you know, your best friend or someone comes to you and it's just like, wow, I've got this belief around money, right? What would you say as that caring, nurturing friend? So you can just keep going through that. We all have laundry lists of beliefs. So the final parting little thing of this, which is again another little bit of homework in a way, and just a little thing to leave you with, is how you treat anything is how you treat everything. So another, you know, little thing that that I've been doing, which is subtle and small, but also kind of impactful, is, you know, like physical money. Like, have a look. Like, how do you treat physical money? Talking about like the paper and the coin variety, right? If somebody hands you like a $5, £5 note, a few coins, you just scrunch it up and put it in your pocket. You know, do you just shove it down in your bag? You know, if you see just some coins lying around your house, do you just kind of walk by them? You know, is it just like insignificant? You know, you have a bunch of like copper coins in England, like pennies. You're like, Start actually treating it all like it's $100 or £100, right? So go, you know, after school, go into your wallet. What does your wallet look like? If it's all scrunched up and messy and there's shit in there and there's papers in there and like the notes are like all muddled up and scrunched up and you've got like receipts and you've got notes, like make it tight, like make it a place where money actually wants to come into. Right? We've got to set the environment and just start to treat money better. Start to treat it, because like if you can't treat £5, $5 well, you're not going to treat $5 million well. Okay, so start with like looking at how you just treat the small things. So tidy up your wallet, tidy up your purse. Start to, like, when you receive money, rather than like scrunching it up, folding it up, like look after it. Have it ordered, have it looking neat, respect it, right? If you see some money on the street, don't walk by it, pick it up, right? Nothing, you're not too good for money. Okay, it's like, oh, it's just 5 pence. Or, you know, it's like, you're not too good for it. Okay, start to treat it with the respect that it deserves. Okay, because money is just energy. Okay, so we have to treat like all representations of energy in the way that we would ourselves want to be treated. And one of the things I said yesterday as well is like, as you know, money comes in, like be fucking thankful for everything that comes in, even if it is like 5 pence, $1, whatever on the street. Like, have gratitude for the money comes in. When you're you know, if you have a salary that comes in every month, your salary comes in, like do a fucking happy dance that it comes in. Like seriously, like acknowledge it, like thank you, like this is amazing, like money is coming in every time you spend money. Like be really grateful because somebody has put energy and effort into whatever it is that you're paying for. Okay, don't see it as like money just leaking out. Oh, I've got to spend money. Oh, fuck, like that was a really expensive food bill. Oh my God, like it's keeping you fucking alive. Like, have gratitude for what you're spending money on. Both like money that's coming in and money that's going out. Okay, like I say, like how you treat anything is how you treat everything. Okay. Cool. All right. I do not see any questions. Anybody have any questions before we sign off? Charlotte or Emma on the Zoom? Anything you guys want to add? It's big stuff, isn't it? Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I don't see any questions on Instagram. So, okay, beautiful people, thank you so much for tuning in. As you can tell, I'm super passionate about this. This has literally changed my life and many other people's lives. So part 3 will be tomorrow. I say part 3 is fun stuff. I mean, I think this is all fun. I think this is all just fucking amazing stuff. Okay, but you know, tomorrow is when we kind of move more into like the light side of like manifestation and abundance. So if you want to join on Zoom and have the ability to ask questions, not that anybody has so far, I think their minds have just been blown too much to ask a question, send me a message and you have the Zoom link. Otherwise you can find it on Facebook or again on IG Live. If you miss the recordings, let me know and we can get the recordings to you. All right, and it's at 3 o'clock Bali time tomorrow. Okay, so it's an hour earlier than today. Yes. All right, see you all very soon. See you, ladies.